Good morning, students. Today we are going to start last two questions of Unit 4 Supply. This is our third video. In the first video we have completed 4 questions. In second video we have completed 2 more questions. In the previous video we have completed law of supply, and one more question that we dealt with was based on the first video, that is factors affecting supply, difference between supply, stock and production. And now the last 2 questions, change in supply and price determination, both are figure based question. That is the situation that we have seen in the previous video about the individual supply and the market supply. Same we are going to study in our second question. And when it comes to the first question, the same question we have seen in Unit 3. In Unit 3, the question was change in demand. Now, if you people can remember, in Unit 3, where we were talking about change in demand, the question was classified into 2 heads. Number 1, expansion and contraction of demand, and number 2, increase and decrease in demand. In the same way, today we are going to study change in supply into 2 parts. A, expansion and contraction of supply, and number 2, increase or decrease in supply. The funda will be the same, that when we are talking about expansion and contraction, price changes, other factors remain same. And when we are talking about increase or decrease in supply, price remains fixed and other factors remains change. Where expansion and contraction takes place, the reason is price. And when there is increase or decrease, the reason is factors other than price. So let us start. Our very first question is, explain the change in supply. Now, change in supply. First of all, it can be classified into 2 heads. A, that is expansion and contraction, and B, that is increase and decrease. Increase and decrease. Now, when we are talking about expansion and contraction, means we are talking about law of supply. Means we are talking about point A in case of factors affecting supply. Now see, expansion and contraction. The simple condition is when price of the commodity changes. Keep it in mind that when the price of the commodity changes and other factors remains constant or remains same. Other factors remains constant or remain same. Law of supply याद है आप लोगों को? The same thing we have seen in case of law of supply. that according to Professor Alfred Marshall, when other factors affecting supply remains the same. See, we have written other factors affecting supply remains unchanged, remains same, remains constant. If price rise, supply expands. And if price falls, supply contracts. Means due to change in price, there will be expansion or contraction. See, in the same way, when we are talking about increase or decrease, so here price remains same, means price remains constant, and other factors changes. Other factor changes. So again, when we are talking about increase or decrease, so price remains same, which means there is no change in the price of the commodity. Still, the supply can increase or supply can decrease. If it's a perishable goods, then even though the customer is not ready to pay the more price, a producer will increase the supply. The reason is nature of commodity. If it won't sold within a short span of time, it will be useless. So here other factors are changes and price remains same. So in examination or in your CW, you have to write like this, that change in the supply can be observed in two ways. A, expansion and contraction. B, increase or decrease. For expansion and contraction, you are supposed to write that when price of a commodity changes and other factors are kept constant, that is known as expansion or contraction of supply. And in case of increase or decrease, you are supposed to write that when the price remains same, price remains constant, and other factors changes, then there will be increase or decrease in supply. Let us examine the same with the help of a schedule and a figure. So here I go with a schedule. Let us take a small example of expansion or contraction. Price, supply. Now see, other factors are to be kept constant. So when price changes 5, 10, 15, 20, a producer supplies also increases. Let it be 100, let it be 120, let it be 140, let it be 160. That is, price rise, supply expands. Price falls, that is contraction. Now, same can be explained with the help of a figure. Now, figure can be drawn. Let it be y-axis, let it be x-axis. 0. Supply, that is in units, and as we all know, price in rupees. Now, After the completion of your presentation on X and Y axis, please draw the box. Now, price and supply. Change is in same direction. Same direction, so supply line starts from the origin point and it moves towards the infinite direction. We have 4 combinations, so let it be first, let it be second, let it be third, and let it be fourth. And as we all know, this will be denoted as S dash, and this is what? Supply curve or supply line. Now the combinations are combination A, B, C, D. This is the same figure that we have seen in case of individual supply, in case of market supply, in case of law of supply. There is no change, because in those 2 questions also price changes, other factors remain constant. So this is known as expansion or contraction of supply. This is known as expansion or contraction of supply. Now, the next is increase or decrease in supply. So what is the condition? Here price will remain same and other factors changes. Now other factors are many. It can be a level of technology, it can be a level of competition, it can be a taste and preferences, it can be a number of suppliers, it can be a government policy, it can be a political stability. There are many factors. So we can't write those factors which are constant, but we can write the price that is constant, because factors constant are taken in A. Here price is constant, so with the help of a schedule, let it be price, let it be supply, now the condition is when price remains same. So suppose price of the commodity was 10, price of the commodity is 10, price of the commodity is still 10, price of the commodity is still 10, but supply changes. Suppose supply was 100, then it became 120, then 140, then 160. That is, see, price remains same, but other factors changes. So as a result, supply increases or decreases. See, increased from 100 to 160. And if we take a reverse study, then it decreases from 160 to 100. Now, let us present the same with the help of a figure. X, Y, 0, here supply into bracket units, price into bracket rupees, and same after the presentation on X and Y axis. For the presentation purpose, we'll draw a box. Now see, price is same, there is no change in price. So if I take price rupees 10 here, it means there is no change in price, still supply was 100, then it became 120, then it became 140, and then it became 160. So 100, 120, 140, 160, and combination, A, B, C and D. Now see, supply curve is positive sloped, so here also a supply curve is to be drawn. But how? Because the price remains same. So yes, we can draw that when price of the commodity was 10, quantity supplied was 100. So S dash. Price is still 10, commodity supplied is 120. So once again, S dash. Price is still 10, quantity supplied increases from 120 to 140. S dash. And same for combination D. S dash. That's it. Over. Let us revise the question within a minute. Question number 1, that is from the beginning of the chapter. This is question number 7. Change in supply. It can be classified into two heads: expansion and contraction of supply, increase and decrease in supply. In case of expansion and contraction, price remains change, other factors remain same. Price changes, other factors remains same. And in case of increase and decrease, price remains same and other factors changes. So when we consider change in price, 5, 10, 15, 20, and here price same, so 10, 10, 10 and 10. Price changes, supply also changes, so change is in the positive direction, change is in the same direction, so figure can be drawn in this way. And when price remains same, so there will be a vertical line as we used to draw in case of perfectly elastic demand when the answer was infinite, because here also it's infinite. Price is 10, supply can be 200, in future supply can be 400, it can be in any number, when we need to observe increase or decrease in supply. Is it clear? Sure? Okay. Now our next question is, and important question, and the last question is price determination. Price determination. Now, when we are talking about price determination, when you'll ask a layman, when you ask a common man, that who decides price of the commodity? Who determines price of the commodity? Then obviously the answer would be seller. The answer would be producer. But actually, according to the Alfred Marshall, price is never decided by the producer. Price is decided by the two invisible hands. Yes, two invisible hands of market. And that invisible hands are: number 1, demand, that is our chapter 3, and second is supply, that is our present chapter Unit 4, present chapter unit 4, that is supply. So for an ordinary man, for a layman, for a common person, for a common man, price is determined by the producer. It is decided by the manufacturer or the supplier. But when it comes to an economist, a researcher, an academician, they analyze that price is actually decided by the two market forces, which are also known as two invisible hands, because that cannot be seen, but price is determined on the basis of that only, that is demand of a commodity and supply of a commodity. The process through which price is determined, that is known as price determination. So I can write, okay, price determination refers to a process of determining the price of the commodity with the help of a demand and supply of that particular commodity. Once again, if I need to write the definition or the meaning of price determination, then I can write price determination is the process through which price of the commodity is determined by two market forces, by two invisible hands, that is demand and supply. Let us understand the same with the help of a schedule and a figure. See, let me write price here, then the demand, and then the supply. Now, as we all know, price in rupees, demand in units, and supply also in units. Now, price rupees, demand into bracket units, supply units. Let us understand by examining 5 combinations, just 5. Now suppose the price of the commodity is 10, then it became 20, then it is 30, then 40, and then 50. Now, as we all know, there is inverse relationship between the price and demand, and there is linear relationship between price and supply. There is inverse relationship between price and demand, and there is linear relationship between price and supply. So, first of all, between price and demand, it is inverse relationship. So when price of the commodity was 10, quantity demanded was 500, then price demand contracts. And in case of supply, as the relation is linear, price 10, quantity to be supplied was 100, with rise in price, supply expands. Now actually, try to understand this from the viewpoint of a customer and a producer. See, at rupees 10, a customer is ready to purchase 500 units, but at a very low price, supplier is ready to supply only 100 units. So see, demand is 500, supply is 100, does not match. At point B, price of the commodity is 20, that is price rise. So a customer has reduced his demand from 500 units to 400 units. And as price increases from 10 to 20, supplier is ready to supply 200 units in place of 100 units. So again, demand and supply does not match. In fourth combination, third I have skipped, In fourth combination, when price of the commodity is 40, the demand has reduced from 500 to 400 to 300 to 200. And with a good price, the producer is ready to supply 400 units. Again, demand and supply does not match. Now, when price is to be kept 50, there is very low demand, that is 100 units. And as a producer is getting a good price, he is willing and able to supply 500 units. Again, this demand and supply does not match. But when I am talking about this combination C, let it be A, B, C, D and E. When I am talking about C, at rupees 30, a customer demands 300 units and a producer is ready to supply 300 units. A producer is ready to supply 300 units. That is 30 is determined by the two market forces, demand and supply. At rupees 30, a customer is also ready to buy 300 units and a supplier is also ready to supply 300 units. Here, the demand curve and the supply curve intersect each other. You can see at rupees 30, customer and producer. Customer is ready to buy 300, producer is ready to supply 300. So price is not determined by the producer. Price is determined by the two invisible hands of market, two market forces, and those two market forces are demand and supply. Now, this one was our schedule. The same we can present with the help of a figure. Now see, I am going to draw two rough figures because already we have drawn many figures in unit 3 and in unit 4 till this question. So, if a demand curve is to be drawn, then the figure will be like this. If a supply curve is to be drawn, then the figure will be like this. Now we have to draw the figure combining these two market forces. So I can draw in this way. Let it be Y, let it be X, and let it be 0. On y-axis, as we all know, price in rupees. In x-axis, we are going to present both demand and supply. And demand and supply both are in units. Okay. Let this be a supply curve that is S dash, and let this be a demand curve that is D dash, and the point where these two two curves intersect each other. These two curves intersect each other. That point, let me record M here. Now you can write A, B, C, E, whatever you want. I have taken M. Price is 30. Quantity to be demanded and supplied is 300. And demand curve and supply curve intersects each other. This point is known as equilibrium point. Equilibrium point. That is, this is the point where two curves intersect each other and the price is determined. See, this is the supply curve, this is the demand curve. Here at rupees 30, a producer is ready to supply 300 units and a customer is ready to buy 300 units. So first question we have seen the concept of supply, production and stock. Second question we have seen the difference between the supply and stock. The third question was factors affecting supply. The fourth question was supply function. The fifth question was individual supply and market supply. The sixth question was law of supply. The seventh question is change in supply. The eighth question is price determination process, and here the unit is over. So in the very next video of economics, we'll start with unit 1, that is economics and introduction. In that unit, a very few things I am going to write on board. Maximum I'll explain to you. So we'll see you then. Bye bye. Thank you.